Now then, Liverpool, Norfolk, Glasgow, travel the length and breadth of Britain, and the variety of local dialects is, well, it's pretty astounding actually. So you'd think regional accents would be something we'd be celebrating, would be proud of?
Well, maybe not though, according to parents across the country. Regional accents are falling out of favour according to new research, with more than half of parents trying to stop their children speaking in the local style. But how big an impact does your accent have on the way people perceive you? Are regional accents a barrier to success? We can discuss all of this further with Helen Sewell, who's a voice coach and managing director at Simply Speaking, a voice and presentation training company. And also joining us from Birmingham is Jo Cameron, a former Apprentice contestant. Good evening to you both.
Good evening.
Let's go to you first of all, Jo, as someone with a very well-known accent. Any viewers of The Apprentice will know. Do you think that your accent has ever hindered you?
Oh, absolutely not. I'm with you. I think we should celebrate regional accents, totally. However, there is a case sometimes where you need to maybe adjust your style just to be clearer with your message.
And so do you do that? How do you do that? Do you kind of have like the posh telephone voice that you employ?
Well, I think for me personally, I did have to develop a different style because my natural sort of default communication style is to speak very, very quickly and very energetically. However, as I started to develop speaking abilities in front of a large audience, I had to really concentrate and slow it down so my message was a lot clearer.
Helen Sewell, do you get people coming to you who want to wipe out their regional accents?
I do. I get quite a lot of people
Really?
who want to just get rid of it altogether.
And speak like you?
And speak a little bit like me, perhaps.
So is a regional accent or a dialect, is it a barrier to success?
It can be. It really depends on what you're doing. I think the most important thing to remember about accents is that your accent should fit in with the people that you're with. So, for example, if you're working in a merchant bank, you might want to speak as most of the people there speak in order just to fit into that sort of society. Whereas if you're working in, say, the gas industry and you're a gas fitter, you might want to have that sort of accent. It really depends what you do.
So does that, sorry, I was just going to, you made me think about Tony Blair there, because he was someone obviously in the public eye who did seem to vary the way he spoke depending on who he was addressing. Do you think that was a deliberate policy? Yeah, or do people do it subconsciously, maybe?
Well, I think people do it subconsciously. You like, as I said, you like to fit in. If you change your accent so that you do fit in with the crowd, then people are going to accept you more. You're going to sound more authoritative if you want to. You're going to sound more friendly and more reassuring if you want to.
Jo Cameron, could you imagine going to Helen and having lessons so that you ended up speaking all posh like she does?
I think it really depends on the environment that you're in. I'd like to pick up on the point about politicians, because I do believe that they've got a little bit too polished, and therefore people don't sort of believe that they're really true to what they're saying. So I think there is an element of being yourself, but it depends on which environment that you're working in, definitely.
Well, Gordon Brown has a nice Scottish accent.
Yeah, but they are all practiced and they are all trained, and I think, like I say, sometimes there is a place for your natural communication style and a little local dialect, because if we were all the same, life would be pretty boring, I think.
Helen, you were saying that people do come to you to try to get rid of their regional accents. Tell us more about the sort of people who come, and are people sending their kids? Because this story is about people not wanting their kids to have regional accents.
To be honest, I tend to work more with the business community than with children.
Okay.
I have worked with a few children, but the sort of people that come to me tend to be people who work in business and who feel that they're not taken seriously because of the way that they sound.
Are there particular accents that seem to show time and again?
Not specifically. It's people who have very strong regional accents. I mean, Jo's accent isn't very strong. It's there, it's obvious, but because she speaks quite slowly and quite clearly, she likes that, she comes across well.
Well, actually, on that point, it's interesting, Jo, because you said that you do deliberately slow down the way that you speak these days, and to me, you do sound slightly different to how you sounded on The Apprentice. Is that just me, or have you toned it down a little?
No, that's what I'm saying. Honestly, I've had to really work at my style and slowing it down, because to me, I thought that it was fairly well considered and articulate. But when I'm talking to a larger audience, it has to be more deliberate and more professional and more practiced. So there is different styles. However, when I'm at home and with my friends, they're used to it, so they can understand it a little bit better.
So you double the speed.
Yeah. But Helen, if you have, say, a Brummie or a Scouse, a Mancunian businessman or woman come to you and say, I want to iron away all these accents, isn't that a little bit sad?
Not really. I mean, I say to people that your accent is part of your heritage, you should be proud of it,
yeah.
and you can maintain your accent, but just soften it. Just make it more gentle so that people can understand you. Because, I mean, there is a potential problem. If you're a very broad Brummie, for example, and you're going to a meeting in another part of the country where they speak with a different accent, they might not be able to understand you as well.
Really?
Possibly.
There are examples, though, of some accents that are looked on very positively, aren't there? Like, I think Scottish and Irish accents in particular are often used in call centres or on automated messages because everybody seems to respond well to those accents.
Yes, it's the softness of the accent rather than the fact that they're Scottish or Irish. I mean, if you have a very heavy Glaswegian accent, for example, that might not be understood so well and it might not be looked upon so well. But people like, say, Sean Connery, Terry Wogan, who have the very soft, gentle accents, they come over as very warm and very friendly.
Okay, interesting to talk to you both, Helen Sewell, in the studio with us, and Jo Cameron. Thank you both very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Okay, Mary.